Hi guys, it's Darren here from deepblueapps.com and deepbluemarket.com. We're going to make a brand new project. This one's going to be iPad landscapes, and today we're going to be talking about waypoints and having less linear waypoints. So we're going to just change the title, iPad landscape, go into the first scene, double click on that, and in we go. Yeah, waypoints are quite linear. The normal method is to find the X and Y of the waypoints and just send your actors along that path. Now, a little bit linear, like I've said, we're going to make it a bit more random, make it less linear, and roughly follow the path rather than directly following the path. I'm going to do 3 different types of waypoints. First one, we're going to have it go from the start to the finish. Second one, we're going to have it go from the start to the finish to the start to the finish, so it's going to loop round. And the third one is just going to spawn and go to random waypoints. Every time it gets to a new waypoint, it's going to pick another waypoint, and it's going to be random. And the first thing we need to do is make a table. So we go down to the bottom left here and we click the plus sign. Now we can rename this. I like to use the Apple sign, so Alt Shift and K. We'll make 2 of those, come in the middle here, and we'll just simply call this waypoints. Now we'll go in and we'll have integer. We'll have 2 columns because we want to try and save the X and Y value of the waypoints. Now the waypoints are going to be jotted around the scene. Every time we add a new waypoint, we're going to make it so it saves its X and Y value to the table. Now rows, I think 30 should be enough. Depends how many waypoints you want. But for this demo I'm just going to make 30 rows. It doesn't really matter. As long as you've got more rows than you have waypoints, it'll work out fine. If you do have lots and lots of waypoints and you're getting an error, a bug, just come in and make sure you have actually got enough rows for your waypoint actors. So that's the table setup, and we're going to go back into the scene. We're going to need a game attribute called counter, again integer, and we're just going to call this counter. We'll leave that set to 0. Now we're going to make the waypoint actor now. Again, we'll just rename the actor. Double click. Size 100 by 100 is a little bit too big, so we're going to change that to 32. And we're going to change the colour to a red one. And a good habit to get into is into the physics, because it's not going to be moving this actor. We'll just change those 3 there. Density friction bouncing up to 0. And we'll uncheck the movable. Now, every time we drag one of these on the scene, it's going to represent a new row for the table. So we're going to have to do a change attribute. That game counter we made earlier to game counter +1. So every time one of these red actors, waypoint actors, is on the scene, it's just going to change the game counter +1. So the first one's going to be 1. If there's 2 on the scene, it's going to be 2. If you've got 3 waypoints, it's going to be 3, and so on and so on. Now we're going to make a self attribute here, just to test it. And we can also use this to read the table rows. Now it's going to be an integer. I've just put count me. Now we're just going to change this self count me to the game counter. The game counters are going to be counting up 1 at a time, but this will only count once. It'll only change once to the game counter. So that's going to change the first actor. This will be 1. If you've got 2 actors, the second one will be 2, and so on and so on. And now we've got the row of the table. We need a change table value, because we're actually going to be so we come to game waypoints, which is the table. The row is the self count me, and like I've said, that's going to change every time you add a new actor to the scene. That self count me is going to change. Column 1. Now we need to get the position X of this actor. So waypoint position X. This little plus sign here, we'll do column 2, and column 2 is going to be for the position Y. So position Y, so self position Y, sorry, we'll delete the X. So this is going to save the X and Y position of the waypoint to the actor. Now just to quickly test this as working, we'll do a little display text, waypoints count me. We'll go back into the scene, drag one in the scene, we'll select the actor, Alt left click, Alt left click, Alt left click on the mouse to make copies. Now we'll just press play here and this should say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's working fine. So we know that actor 1 is jotting its X and Y position to row 1 on the table, row 2 on the table, row 3 and row 4. So that's working nicely. Now we'll come in here and we need an actor that's going to move between these waypoints. So I'll call this mover 1. Again, I'll change its size, what we're doing, we'll do 32 by 32. The colour, a nice blue colour. And we're going to leave the physics to movable because this actor will actually move around. Now in this actor here, we want it to move between the waypoints, but we want it to be a little bit random, a little bit less linear, like we've discussed previously. So we're going to make a self integer, call this position X, we'll make another one, call this position Y, and we're also going to need a counter as well, so we'll have another integer and we'll just call this count me. We'll change this to 1 because we want to get the actor moving in the first place, and we'll make a rule. So we'll come up to the top right there, create a rule, and we'll do if attribute mover count me equals 1, change attribute mover position X to random. Now this is where you can edit your game to what you want to do, but for this demo I'm going to do -48, 48. Now that's going to give it, if you imagine a big square 96 by 96, this actor is going to go to the waypoint plus random 96, 96, so it can get anywhere -48 to 48 of the waypoint's X. And we're going to do exactly the same for the Y. So we'll come here, change position Y. And what we'll do is we'll just open this up here, we'll open this up here. We can't actually copy that, I thought we could copy that one, but so we'll just make another random here, and we'll just again change the Y to -48, 48. So there's a pretty big area of randomness here. So it's going to get it's going to read the data from the table from the waypoint's X and Y position, and then it's going to change it by -48, 48 in the X and -48, 48 in the Y. And then we're going to have a move to, which is down here on the left. I'm going to drag this underneath here. Now we're going to move to table cell value. Just highlight the table section. Come to game, find your waypoints table, and the row. That's going to be the count me. And the column for the X is 1. But we need to do plus position X, which is the random number there that we've change from -48 to 48. And then we need to do the same table cell value. We need to do the same for the Y. Highlight the table there. Game, waypoints, row will be count me, column will be 2 because this is the Y. And we'll come outside the bracket and we'll do a plus position Y. Now in order not to get those mixed up with these self positions, if we're ever going to do anything, I think we should rename this random X and random Y. And that'll automatically change these, as you can see here. Now we'll just test this via a spawner, just to make sure it's going to move and pick a position. So we're going to make another actor here. We'll call this one spawner. We'll change its size. We can leave it at a white colour, but this actor is not going to move, so again it's always good practice to come in here, uncheck movable. Now in this actor we need a timer found at the bottom here. We'll drag that in here. Every 1 second, run to completion, spawn actor. We'll find the mover 1 and we need to add this to the scene, so let's put the spawner. We'll hide it out of the scene for now. So this spawner is going to be going spawning actor, and the actor should move to position 1, but it should be random. So you can see here it's choosing a position, -48 plus 48 in the X and -48 plus 48 in the Y. So that seems to be working, but now we've got to make the mover actor move on, so to speak. And we're going to need another rule, so we'll create a rule there, or you can drag one in from here, it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to, when attribute, move up position X equals table cell value, because we want to know when this actor has reached its destination. And we're just going to select all of that this time. So it's game, table waypoints, comma, the row is going to be the count me, comma, and the column is always going to be 1. But don't forget, we need to do the plus random X. And we also need to add another, so we need to check the attribute position Y. Now instead of doing all that again, we can just open up this rule, drag this one down in here, close the original one, and we'll just select that random X because we need the random Y for the position Y. And that's done that without messing about with the tables again, so that's a nice little tip there to save you a little bit of work. So now we need to increase this counter by 1, so we need a change attribute, mover count me to mover 1 count me plus 1. And this is just going to keep the actor moving and moving and moving, but we also want to change the randoms again. So we'll select that, hold down shift and select the rule underneath, and we'll just alt left click and drag, and that's just going to copy those two sections there. And while we're at it, we might as well copy the move because we need it to move as well, so we could have copied all 3 sections there and dragged it in. And we'll just check this one to run to completion. Now 300 is a little bit too fast, so we'll do 150, and we'll do 150 on that one, and we'll just give this a little test, and hopefully now this blue actor will get spawned, move from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, but it'll be quite random. So let's just make some more of these. Whoops, I double clicked on it by mistake. So let's just get that back to there. Alt left click, alt left click, and we'll just make a simple maze, a simple path, sorry, all the way around. We'll come back up here a little bit, we'll go back over there, and just make a couple more, and we'll finish here. So we'll press play, and you can see there we've got 17 waypoint actors. Now at the moment they're still going to number 1, so we've done something wrong. So we'll go back. We know the waypoint actors are correct, so it's got to be here in the mover actor. Count me as 1, random random, we'll move. Count me 2, effects position, here's 1. Yeah, we've made a mistake there by copying this down when we did the shortcut. We made a mistake by column 1, so we'll just change that number there to 2 in the position Y, because we just quickly copied it down, we forgot to change that to 2. So the 2 there is the column, everything else looks good. That's working, so this should now work. So it should move from 1 to 2 to 3. And you can see now it's less linear, it's not moving to the X and Y of the red waypoints, it's actually moving to the X and Y plus random. Now we'll just press that again. Now when it gets to the end, it's going to go to 0, 0, so it's going to try and go to the corner. Now we want it to stop when it reaches number 17, because that's our last actor. It's going to read 18, row 18, which is 0, 0 on the table, because we're not actually changing that. So here they go, into the corner. So we want to try and fix that, and because we've got a game counter and a self counter, we can come into this rule here. We'll just do a little plus sign, and we'll just simply say if attribute count me is less than game counter, then move. So this, what happened now is it should get to the last actor down here, number 17, and it should stay there, because we're not telling it to move on, we're only telling it to move on if the self count me is bigger than the game counter. So all being well, it should stop at a random position around the 17, and you can see just how much randomness we've got there from each of the waypoints, because when it gets to the end they're all stopping at a random minus 48 plus 48 in the X and a random minus 48 plus 48 in the Y. Now we can limit the number of these blue actors, the movers. If we go into the spawner, for example, we could have a self integer, and again we can just call this counter, and then every 1 second we can change spawner counter to spawner counter plus 1, and then we can select the timer, click on this create rule, which will wrap the whole lot in a rule, and then we can say attribute spawner counter is less than, I don't know, what should we have, 30, then spawn. If that's bigger than 30 or equals 30, then it won't spawn anymore, and we can just put that to the test. In fact, what we'll do is we'll sort the layers out first, because in the scene layers you notice the spawner is sort of halfway between some waypoints that were made earlier. So we'll just lift the spawner to the top, press play, and then all the actors will appear above the waypoints. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 movers, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30. So we've got 30 actors all going round to the end. Now in the spawner we can do it 0.2, and that will just spawn them a lot faster. And you can see there, you've got sort of a tower defense type game, loads of enemies coming at you. They're roughly following the path, but they're all choosing their own sort of points between the waypoints. Now, because I've got the video editing software on, you do get the odd stuck actor, but believe me guys, I've tested this one quite a lot, and no actors have been getting stuck while I've been testing. I just think it's because I've got a lot going on. So yeah, that's one way to do a random spawn, a random waypoint, sorry, and have the actors roughly follow the waypoints. You can see here they're going round their own little way, and you can see it makes for a less linear path, less linear waypoints, and obviously you can change that number in the mover 48, 48 to whatever you want. Obviously the less the number is, the less random it'll be. The higher the number, the more the less linear it will be actually. So you can just change that number to suit. And right, we'll move on to the next waypoint. Now the waypoints at the moment are just going round and ending in a path. What we'll do is, let's just go to the waypoints. We'll select the last one there. We'll just destroy a couple of those, and what we'll do is we'll join this path up so it goes from the start all the way to the beginning. And we'll just come up here. We'll move that down there a little bit, and we'll just make one there. And we'll just have this spawner here. So now we're going to do a repeat. So when they get to the end of the path, I'll just quickly press play to make sure we've got the blocks 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. So now what we're going to do, when they get all the way to the end, then we're going to change so they go back to the start. We've already got if count me equals 1, then we're going to move to row 1 in the table. So all we need is a simple rule. If attribute mover count me is bigger than game counter, so basically we've got lots of red blocks on the scene. Every time you put a red waypoint block, it's changing the game counter, so we've already got that information available. Then we're just going to change mover count me to 1, and now we'll just go back and we'll click play. And now what happens, every time the blue actor gets to the waypoint, it's going to go to the next one. When it gets to the last one here, 18, it's just going to go back to 1. So they're going to go all the way around the path, all the way around, and when they get to 18, they're going to stick at 18. Okay, so we've done something wrong again. Okay, I think it's just a case of moving this rule up here to the top. So if you move it above the count me equals 1, we'll press play, and then we'll see if that's working. What we should have done actually, I've noticed there's some, because we added some actors in the layers, the last few are going to be a spawner. So we'll just drag the spawner to the top there so all the blue actors are actually above the red actors. So hopefully now when they all go around, they will go from 18 and then it'll change to 19, and because it's bigger than 18 it'll then change it to 1 and we should be good to go. Back to the start, but it's not looking good. Just give me a second, guys. Okay, we need to delete this rule here because we had it going from start to finish. We want it to be a continuous loop now, so we need to delete this bit here. So just select the attribute self count me as less than game counter, and then we'll just get rid of that, and then we'll press play, and third time lucky, guys, sorry about that. They should now go all the way around, and when they get to 18 they should start again from number 1, and there you go. Now last but not least, we're going to do a random movement. So we're going to go into the layers and we're going to delete some of these because we don't need that many waypoints. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to select the spawner, just scroll across the bottom here. I'm going to put the spawner right in the middle. Now what's going to happen now is the shapes are going to come out, the actors are going to come out, and they're going to choose a random spawner to go to. But not only that, when they hit one or reach their destination, they're going to choose another random one. And obviously you can have as many of these as you want, but for this demo I'm just going to scatter a few around the scene. Doesn't really matter where you put them. For this demo I think that will do. And obviously we want the mover now to be random, so we're going to leave quite a few things the same. We're going to change that count me to 0, and this is going to set the actor off initially. So if self count me equals 0, which it will do, it's going to change the random X and Y, and then it's going to go to the table. So that's all set up rather nice. We don't need this one, so you can delete that rule there. So count me equals 0, which we've just changed it to. That's going to set it off. We need it to pick a random number though. So we're going to need a change mover 1 count me to random. Now we're going to use the game counter here again. So we've got 1, so it's going to pick a number from 1 to game counter. So it doesn't matter how many waypoints you have on there, it'll pick a random number from 1 to the amount of waypoints you've dragged into your scene. And we're going to come down into this bit here, and instead of doing this one here, count me to count me plus 1, because we want them to move random now, we're just going to drag this, Alt left click, drag this underneath, and now we're going to click back. Actors should spawn from this white spawner actor here and then pick a random number. Now every time they hit one of these blocks it's going to pick another random number, so you're going to have quite a few going out, and you can see they're just randomly going towards the waypoints, but with an offset of -48 plus 48. So I hope you enjoyed the demo, guys, and that's 3 ways to do the different waypoints. And don't forget your layers. We've got the spawner at the bottom, near the bottom, so we'll just drag that up to the top, press play, And there you go, lots of actors spawning, selecting a different waypoint to go right at the start, and they're on their end, they're picking a random waypoint to go to. Not only are they picking a random waypoint, they're picking a random area, -48, +48 in the X and Y around that particular waypoint as well. So 3 little demos showing you how to do a less linear set of waypoints. The first one we did was going from a start actor, a starting waypoint, to a finishing waypoint. Second was going from a starting waypoint to a finishing waypoint back to the start in a loop. And this third one is completely random right off the bat, and they're on their end. So I hope you had fun, guys, and I'll speak to you soon. And thanks for the support over at deepblueapps.com and deepbluemarket.com. Bye for now.